everybody. It's your girl, PJamma, with PJamma Life. And today, boy, do we have a bunch of fun things to review. We have the conclusion of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And we're going to take a look at the final categories, Best Director and Best Picture for the Oscar nominations. And then we'll talk about we'll give you the list of movies we're going to review in May. But while we're here, let's look at, we have a new person. We have Patrick, not John Walker, but actually Patrick.
Not John Walker. Hey, everybody.
And our buddy, David, guru of all things Marvel, is going to come back and help us out with another great series coming up. Say hey to the people, David.
Hello, everybody. Great to be with you. had to get my shades on and off. Been my superhero disguise. Can't wait to talk to you about this week's episode.
Oh, man. Is this something to talk about, baby? All right. So let's get into it. Do we have a reenactment?
Oh, no, we don't have a reenactment tonight.
All right. So this week, we will hop into our clips. So go ahead and let's view the clip.
It doesn't matter.
You think your cause justifies all this death, but in the end, the nightmares won't go away.
It doesn't matter if I don't survive this. I'm fighting for something bigger than myself.
You guys are gonna have to do something. I don't fly, man. That's your thing. Let's finish this.
Fight back! Sam, stay back.
Where does it end? Please, let me help you. Every time I pick this thing up, I know there are millions of people out there who are going to hate me for it.
We're not going to need a Captain America. We're going to need a U.S. agent.
That's great.
Keep your phone on.
I saw what you did out there. And seen, so did everyone else. So you must have done something right. You're special.
Thank you.
A black Captain America, huh?
Damn right.
Oh. Ooh, I still get chills thinking about the ending credit. So exciting. So David, talk to us about what you thought of this episode.
What a fantastic culmination of this great series. This show has, we were talking at different times. It's like, I can't believe there are only going to be 6 episodes. I can't believe they're not going to do more of this the way they're talking. And now we know there will be more, but our hero has a new code name. He's no longer just the Falcon. He is truly our new Captain America. And that is fantastic. What a great culmination. Redemption's moments of vindication for a lot of people throughout the show, and a big surprise. And I want to hear Patrick's take on this, on the power broker and what had been, in my understanding from the comics, one of the good guys. Now, maybe not so much one of the good guys as we see here. But it was just fantastic. This was a great way to address a lot of issues. And, for me, this has been about the plight of the veteran And what the show did was it brought a sense of vindication and connection back to everybody, even John Walker, who had some tough moments here, but a little bit of vindication to show some of his nobility underneath some of the other issues. A+. This has just been incredible. Loved every minute of it.
Pat, give us your take and give us some hints from the comics that we might.
Well, you know, the thing that after watching this and trying to reconcile certain things with the Sharon Carter story arc, if we all remember back to the Captain Marvel and towards the end of Spider-Man, there's this whole race of beings called the Skrulls. And they can shapeshift and they can assume your identity and they look just like you, they act just like you more or less, but they are still a Skrull. And I kind of wonder if they're going that way with her, because she was such a good character really throughout the movies, and then they throw in here and now she's really ambiguous, if not straight up bad, towards the end. So I'm kind of wondering maybe if she's been scrolled, you got that kind of going. But I mean, the way they did the whole movie, or the whole not movie, but the whole series, so good. They really did a good job of humanizing two of the really kind of lesser known characters throughout. The Falcon was really just kind of a sidekick, and the fact that Steve picked him to be Captain America said a lot, because Steve saw something in him that was similar. That says, this is a thing, this is a guy who will stand up for the right. Doesn't matter if it's easy, it's the right. And he's going to be the guy. He's not going to just follow orders because they're an order. He's going to say, well, why am I doing this? Which is exactly what he did, and then that speech with the senator and stuff, that was the true legacy of the true Captain America. They're doing his thing, being the conscience of the people in power and holding them to a higher standard, saying, look, you're in charge, but you can do better than this. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this horrible solution when you can do a better solution? It may not be pleasant, but it's a better solution for everybody. And I was just like, wow, this guy. And then the whole thing, we wrapped up some of the other storylines with the Isaiah brought, and one of the weird little things, and I pick up on some stupid stuff maybe, but when he's just sitting there talking to him at the end, like in that clip, and he's working on his garden, and then he picks up this big ass pot, just like, no big deal, walking on over here. This thing weighs about 200 pounds. I'm an old man. I'm just gonna pick it up and sit over here on this other table here. And I was like,
it was a bit of a flex. It was a little bit of a flex.
That's that super soldier serum still coursing through his veins. And he's, I was like, damn, I mean, they picked, and I want to tell you, the actor that played Isaiah did such a wonderful job at. And, he was only really in 2 episodes, really, other than just maybe like a flash or something. But the 2 episodes he was in, super solid. I loved it. I mean, there was a lot of stuff to unpack, but that opening scene with Sam busting through the walls and just popping up, and then you had that they just showed it in this clip, and then you had that echo of the Captain America music. You're like, that's Captain, and then you're like, who are you? I'm Captain America, and just kept on walking. Like he didn't have skills. Doesn't have to throw it down all the time and I'm Captain America. No, he's like, I only say I'm Captain America when I'm, being Captain America,
Right.
So super good. I loved it.
Yeah. And it is, well, let's say hello to Electric Melanin coming in to say, hey, Electric Melanin, thanks for joining us. And okay, I mean, baby, this episode was everything. So I even had to wear my reddest lipstick in honor of, with my blue nails in honor of Captain America. So, but lots to unpack, and I was kind of worried, how were they going to wrap up everything that they needed to wrap up? And I really felt like they did wrap up the storylines in a satisfying way, but lead you into the next series and then the next movies and then the continuation of this series. So from what I understand, I'm glad you brought it up, Patrick, about the Skrulls, because there's some chatter that that's what the Nick Fury movie, TV show is about is the Secret Invasion. So I think that's going to get to the Skrulls invading the governments and people of power on Earth, and the Avengers having to or the Shield, or what's the other name for them? Sword, having
Sword,
to
Shield. They all get infiltrated. In the actual Secret Invasion series, which spanned over like dozens of different books, because it was a worldwide event, kind of like in Civil War. You saw how Shield getting taken over by Hydra spanned through all these movies, all these series. It's the same thing. The Secret Invasion was a big deal.
Yeah. So that's going to lead into that, I think. So there's a question. I mean, I hate to spoil it for people. So spoiler alert. I'm giving you warning right now. Spoiler alert. That there's something going on with Sharon. Maybe all isn't what we think it is. So she is an intelligence officer. So who knows what her real allegiance is? Is she Skrull? Is she working with Nick Fury? And playing a double agent again? I don't know, but it's super interesting, whatever it is. And because she had some messed up scenes in this week, so I was like, not Peggy's niece, not Peggy's niece.
That's why I'm saying she's got to be a Skrull, because.
But here's the thing, though, about the Skrulls. In the only times that we've seen them in the movie universe, I mean, they were like a refugee people, kind of, if not the good guys, kind of, they were being hurt and there were problems. They were they were not nearly the nefarious characters that we saw in the comics, or had been kind of considered to be like what was in the initial Avengers movie, where the Chitauri were the ones that took over. There was some initial thought that it would be Skrulls that would be that army. So, I mean, the world, the canon would say Skrulls are bad, but what we've seen thus far is they're kind of neutral to be somewhat sympathetic species that's needed help thus far.
But who knows? They switch it up,
I mean, there's sympathetic people in North Korea, but North Korea as a whole is gotten. I'm just as an example to break it down here. I mean, there's a lot of sympathetic refugees coming out of North Korea, but North Korea is a monolithic entity, kind of like the Skrull Empire, which was in the books always competing with the Shi'ar and the Kree. I mean, there was these big galactic empires who were always kind of fighting against each other. And the Skrull was a large empire, and their big thing was they were stealthy assassins. They could get in there and infiltrate other empires.
Yeah, and I just think that there's so much coming up with Marvel, the whole second generation of stories, that there's going to be just chock full of stuff. So I think this is a nice gateway, kind of introducing this, and WandaVision, I think, sets up the next set of movies coming up. And so we'll see. I'm hopeful that Peggy Carter's niece would not completely turn bad. But my theory was correct about the Apple iPhone.
It was.
It was correct. So we'll see.
And Pat's broken a national security secret that Kim Jong-un is an alien, and he's
oh Lord. So there we go. So let me get to my Easter eggs before we dive into the ridiculous. So okay, there was one scene that I really thought was a great wink, and David, do you might know what I'm talking about?
Spell it out a little bit more.
Okay, so Carly says something. I'll just say it. So Carly says, "I'm not interested in power or empires."
Oh yeah.
I was like, that is a nice little wink to the Star Wars universe, when she was in Solo, and her character was also a rebel in Solo. So I was like, I don't know if that was really intended, but I was like, I see you, boo. I see you.
It could have been a little bit of a nod to being Enfys Nest, a fun character.
Yeah. And I really also I thought it was a nice juxtaposition. If you think about it, and I saw this on one of the boards, and I was like, ooh, I like it. Sam used his wings and his shield for defense. If you think about it, it was always defense. But John Walker used the shield to bludgeon, to stab, to, like damage. And so always on the attack. And I think that spoke about, one, their characters. Sam's always looking for sometimes a more diplomatic solution when possible, or to defend himself. I mean, he goes in and kick butts when he needs to, but he's not one to throw the first blow. And John Walker is. And it also kind of, now in a big picture way, is about, sometimes U.S. intervention. Sometimes we can be the handout to help, or sometimes we can bludgeon. And what usually works better is the handout. So I just kind of thought, oh, that's kind of a nice little thoughty take on their two styles. Also, I really, really applaud the writers for Isaiah Bradley's whole story arc. I thought that the way that they portrayed it was brilliant. I thought the resolution of it was mwah. I thought it was perfect. And I thought Sam's comment about, what's the point of all the pain and sacrifice if we're not going to fight for it. And so his taking on the mantle, really, and that scene on the bridge, which, Marvel's always having a scene on a famous New York bridge, most of the, a lot of the movies, there's a lot of soliloquy on the bridge between Manhattan and Brooklyn. Yeah, something like that. But that juxtaposition of Sam owning the difficulties in accepting it, but also the responsibility of accepting it, and accepting that, there are going to be people who don't like the decision, don't understand the decision, but it's the right decision. And so Isaiah also being able to reconcile with what Sam is doing, which is different because his experiences and choices were different. I just thought that his giving him that hug was just like, man, y'all ain't got to make me tear up like this. That ain't right. Y'all got me in this daggone Marvel movie. Oh. And it was just so moving and beautiful. And, this season has had some difficult conversations about race, and in a brilliant, masterful way. And so that hopefully people hear not just the superhero side, but also the message that they were trying to tell. I think that's relevant for what's going on in the world right now. So
we could do a whole show just on Sam's speech, deconstructing that very powerful monologue.
That was probably the best part of the movie, really, or the series. That conversation where he just broke it down. That's like, why aren't the people that you're affecting in the room with you?
I was like, say that, brother, say that. I mean, even in our everyday lives, I mean, David and I know this for sure, that the people who are affected by the decisions that we make usually aren't in the room. And I've been in situations, had the privilege to be in the room when decisions are being made, and have been able to speak up in a voice for people who aren't able to speak up. And it is difficult, but if we don't get to that point, we'll always keep making the same mistakes. So that's my soliloquy on that but it was so poignant that you can't help but talk about this issue in an accessible way to the public, right? So also the I just thought that I hope Bartok isn't dead because he really was a good villain. I mean, he Batroc.
Bartok was a little a bat that was in a Don Bluth movie back in the 80s.
That's right.
Totally different.
Yeah,
totally different.
Batroc, he fought two Captain Americas, and still got to run
by both of them, but whatever, you know.
Yeah, but he got to run away until what happened to him. But I just thought that, and also Bucky's arc was really just
tied
beautiful.
Together quite nicely at the end. Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
I will tell you some of the things that I saw that I'm really looking forward to seeing more of, because there's going to be more. There's got to be more. I mean, you got to see Julie Louis-Dreyfus being so snarky and wonderful. I mean, just that whole, what is he doing in there? Just the whole, don't call me Val. You'll call me Val in your head, but just don't say it out loud. Whatever. I mean, that whole thing. I want to see her again, and you're going to see Baron Zemo, because at the end of the whole thing, there's that whole
Zemo doing what he did. I thought that was fantastic too. I was like,
taking a little bit of a break in the raft right now. People get out of that all the damn time. All the Avengers got out of there, and I'm just saying.
It's not that secure. It's more like a Howard Johnson's on the wall.
It is.
I don't know about Howard Johnson's now. The kids don't know what Howard Johnson's is.
The amenities are kind of
Howard Johnson's is like a motel that everybody used to go to when they were kids, because they were on
the was this lame old TV show on in the late 80s where every week they have some B-list actor falling in love, but you had the same 5 people, and man, I want to go hang with Isaac and Gopher. Come on, that'd be fun.
So that was pretty crazy. But now that we've seen the whole series, what do you all rank it in the Marvel kind of universe in terms of its quality?
Well, are we going to go with movies being separate, or are we going to do it with just series?
We just have 2 series, right?
No, you got all the other series that were on Netflix. I would throw in there too. Which some of those are very good. Don't even start making that. Daredevil was badass. It was a great episode, great series, and Jessica Jones was pretty goddamn good too. Just saying, don't even make that face. Purple Man was the best villain they've had on in forever.
Boo.
Again, Pam is wrong for those of you guys that are listening out there. Once again, Pam is wrong.
Once again, Patrick, I don't know what to say. But let's put it in the list of what you think in terms of its quality. What do you think? Is it up there in the top 10, top 5, top 3?
I rank it up there pretty high. And, I think one of the first things, that first episode, if you go back, we were discussing, it kind of felt like a movie, more so than a TV show. Yeah. Granted, there was an easy compare contrast with Wanda, which was, kind of grounded in Americana sitcom. But to me, I think it's kind of it's right up in that kind of realm where I love Captain America. I've rewatched that and The Winter Soldier since the series have been going on. And it just seems like just a perfect extension to that. I know it's got the timeline, but I think it's kind of right in there for me. I will say this real quick. I hated Bucky's decision to confess to the old man that he killed his son.
What?
Yeah, that was the right thing to do.
I think he did.
Do the work.
I just thought the old man likes you. I would have just kept that buried. But
it's like Sam said, you got to do the work to bury the demons. You got to do the work. Quit just phoning it in. And Sam, you remember back at the beginning of Captain Winter Soldier, when you met Sam, he was actually counseling veterans who'd come back. So he is speaking from a place of knowledge on go do the work, and it was the right decision, I think. I mean, it was tough. but you got to pull that Band-Aid off, you know.
Right.
Only
It was super creepy for him to have formed a relationship with that guy, a friendship, when he knew he killed his son. And so that was what he did wrong. If you were going to leave it alone, then leave it alone. But don't insert yourself in the man's life so you can, feel something that you shouldn't have felt. So
we'll agree to disagree on this point, but I wouldn't have wanted to bring up or hurt that man anymore because I think the pain is already there. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I get it.
If I were to put this in somewhere in the whole, and if we're going to throw everything, let's throw everything in. Let's throw the Fox movies. Let's throw the X-Men movies in. Let's throw everything in. It's a good mid. It'd be a good middle. It'd be high middle, maybe is what I would say. I really would, because there were some parts in this that was just pretty. Yeah, they were okay. They didn't seem to go anywhere. They're pretty predictable. They have some good buddy comedy episode, feel to it, but. I mean, some of it was kind of weak, but some of it was so good. There were 2 or 3 episodes. There was 3 episodes out of this that were spectacular, but the other 3 were just kind of, let's get to the next episode where the real stuff's going to happen. So I mean, it wasn't WandaVision, where WandaVision was so unique every single episode. I mean, WandaVision's top 10. Yeah, I put WandaVision right in the top 10 because it was so unique. This one felt a lot like they kind of phoned it in. I mean, they had they tackled a subject or two that was kind of tough. And they did it for an episode, and they kind of pushed it to the back burner. Overall, it was good, and I would say it was definitely maybe like a B-. I was going to grade it on that overall curve. The whole thing.
No. Oh, I absolutely disagree, which is okay.
I mean, if I'm putting it in the overall, like the best movie and the worst thing. The best one being A+, the other one being like a F, just underneath the D-.
What? Dude, I don't even know what to do with you sometimes.
Think about it. Okay, think about it.
I am. I really am considering this series, since you're saying everything from all of Marvel production, all of everything, this still goes in the top. This goes in the top 10, if not top 5 for me.
Wow.
And I think that,
it might squeak into the top 10. It might squeak into the top 10.
Okay, it ties up in there with one of the other ones. But if you say some foolishness like Luke Cage is in the top 5, or Daredevil's in the top 5. Man, I just don't know what to do with you.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, thank you.
Blade. I mean, you think about all the movies that they made. We figure there's probably like 40 movies. So you figure an
Ghost
A+.
Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. Okay.
That would be the F. Really? Well, that's the F. Yeah.
That's the F.
That was fantastic. Wars, man, were really down. That was in the D+ F category.
I like the first one. I'm not going to lie. I like the first one. It wasn't bad with Sam Shepard and everything. Not Sam Shepard, but
Sam Shepard.
No. Yeah.
John Voight.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
The first one wasn't bad.
Yeah. I think it ranks up there in terms of storytelling. I think that this one made you have all the feels. And so when something makes me feel like that, it's just special. And I think this one tackled some just really difficult issues. And I think they did them marvelously. Marvelous. But I think that this series is going to rank up there with the series. And I'm glad, because Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, Carl Lumbly is Isaiah Bradley, played Isaiah Bradley. He's been around a long time and done some beautiful work over the years. This, to me, stands out as some of his, if not his best work. I mean, but he had the material to do it. So But it's great to see Anthony Mackie finally getting his movie, his series, where he's the star, because he has that star power. You finally are able to see him have that big Marvel star power moment. Both of them, him and Sebastian Stan. So I predict just fantastic things for them in the future. And also with Emily Van Camp, Sharon Carter, I think her career is going to take off. She did a great job. And then the people who, the supporting characters, that Carly Morgenthau, I think her name is Kelly something. I didn't memorize her name, but she's great. I really look to see her in more movie. I'm sorry that what happened with her character, because I would have really hoped to see her in more things in the future. So I was kind of sad about that. She won't, have a future.
Ain't nobody dead in Marvel. Just remember, Captain America was dead for 40 years. He just slept in the ice. I mean, she got the serum. I'm just saying, and it wasn't the same serum. It was the Vita rays, like Tony Stark did, or Howard Stark did. But
yeah. And
grow a mustache, get an eye patch. You're the evil twin, and you'll be back before you.
I don't know if anybody can have that red hair of hers.
Hey, everybody just needs to remember, alternate timelines are coming up. If you've seen the Loki trailer,
I saw the Loki trailer.
I'm super excited for that. Oh my god, that looks so good.
Yeah, that one's gonna be a good one. Of course, let's say a boo-hoo for Pammy, because it has to deal with the dreaded time travel.
I wondered if you're going to bring that up now.
That's what it's all about. That's the whole thing.
The whole thing is about it. I'm like, oh, no. Why y'all do it to me?
But it's going to be so good. You got Tom Hiddleston. You got Owen Wilson in it. I mean, it looks... and
it looks about good. It looks
comedic
good.
Buddy comedy thing,
It's gonna be. So it's gonna be okay. We'll see. Of course, I always support. I always watch.
I'm gearing up for fighting. I'm gearing up for fighting already.
Bitch about it the entire time.
I know you will.
All right, let's go on to the Oscars. That's coming up tomorrow. Woo! So, which I might do a live, like take a Twitter or Instagram. I might do something live to let y'all know what I think as it's going on. But today we have the best director and best picture. So we'll wrap it up and then we'll think what is our favorite category and what do we think will win the big picture. So, Mr. Producer, sir, let's run through them. Let's run through best director. Thomas Vinterberg for another round where four friends, teachers, decide to experiment and drink alcohol to see its effect on their personal and professional lives. Next, we have David Fincher with Mank. And this is the story of Thomas Mankiewicz and his time in the movies making Orson Welles' great Citizen Kane. Lee Isaac Chung in Minari, the story of a Korean immigrant family starting a farm in 1980s Arkansas. Nomadland, Chloe Zhao, the story of a woman who begins the van dweller lifestyle, the itinerant workers traveling and finding seasonal work, and the impact on her personal life. Promising Young Woman, Emerald Fennell, a story of a woman who gets revenge on sexual predators. All right. And okay, so there's our best director. Tell me what you liked and then what you think will win. I'll start with Patrick.
Well, I really, I hate to say it, but man, Frances McDormand is probably so easy to direct, so it's easy to make good directorial choices. I mean, it was so bleak and so moving, and she does such a great job. If you look back through her work, obviously she's been up for other things. She's obviously won before. I think it was for Fargo. She's really good. I mean, I'm going to go with Nomadland just because it's a safe bet. I can see him wanting to maybe go with Fincher with Mank because it's David Fincher. Some of these other ones, newcomers, I thought Minari moved so slow, but that wasn't a directorial thing. That was obviously a script thing. It was really subtle, understated performances there too. There was not a lot of bombastic things that I saw this year. I mean, Promising Young Woman had some bombastic stuff going on, but yeah, I'm going to go with Nomadland. There you go.
What was your favorite?
I really did like Nomadland.
Okay, so it's both.
Yeah,
okay.
I really did like it.
Okay, David, what do you think?
I think the starkness of Nomadland will be just from a cinematography perspective. I think it really it's powerful, and I probably pick them to win it, but I have to say, I think Promising Young Woman, in its horror, in its tragedy, in its pain through all of it, this was an amazingly put together film. And the characters, and you can see the shades of gray. The fact that when you're watching this, well, is she killing those guys? Or is she just leaving them with that really incredible, powerful guilt? What's going on? It just keeps the viewer on the edge of the seat, and grabbing that popcorn and not realizing how much you're eating. Promising Young Woman, I thought, was just really an amazing and powerful film. I think it's very much worthy of an Oscar. Kind of hoping it wins.
Okay. I agree. Maybe that Nomadland might win, although recently there has been a lot of stink about this movie, and I thought, some of it's justified. Check out my review of Nomadland, the book and the movie, and where I go into some of the difficulties of it. But I do think that it was very interesting shot, and that she kind of developed a new genre called documentary fiction. The way she interspersed the real life characters with the fictional story of Fran and David. I think that was his name, Fran and Dave. That I thought that was real interesting, but it's some problems with that movie. And its depiction of people on the margins of society, because, on one hand, she's showing the life, right? But I think the movie also kind of, when they brought in the Fran character and she decides her final decision at the end, it was kind of some BS to me, because it was just more kind of it gives justification that the poor are poor because they choose to be poor. And I didn't like that kind of message. And I don't think that's true. And especially given everything going on with it, the structural forces at play that, are real life impact people and force them into these difficult circumstances. I didn't like that was kind of the message at the end of it, and then it just ended like that. I was like, well, that's some BS. So for that reason, I don't want, although I'm rooting for Chloe Zhao to be the first, Asian American woman to win the best director. I mean, I'm all for that. I ain't gonna lie, I'm all for it. But the movie is kind of now. But here's a surprising one. I just watched it. Another Round. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It is a lovely movie and it is beautifully shot. I think that the director does a brilliant job, and the cinematographer, it's just really gorgeous, and the story is really interesting. And the acting, it's a Danish movie, and so it's, the Danish people aren't very, I'm not going to make any assertions, but it's a very subtle movie, but very powerful. And the emotion is just, it's just everything. It's just, that one came out of left field for me. I was like, ugh, this movie, I don't want to watch it. And then I watched it and was like, oh, that's why. But that it did not get Best Picture. I don't know how you get Best Director and also don't get Best Picture. I don't like this new. It's kind of come up over these last few years. I don't like that. That just doesn't make any sense. You take it completely out of the context of the movie. It didn't make sense. The nomination, but that one is, I would be very happy if that one won, because it would be a nice surprise in the movie, but it doesn't make a statement like all of the other movies are making statements. So we'll see on that category. But let's take a look at Best Picture. This one is like, whoa, I don't know who to pick for in the Best Picture category. Let's run through them. I think we've hit them. The Father, the story of a man with dementia and its impact on him and his family. Judas and the Black Messiah, the story of Fred Hampton Jr. And it's the Black Panther Party, head of Chicago. MANK, the story of Mankiewicz and his writing Citizen Kane and what was going on at the studios at the time. Minari, the story of a Korean family. Farming, Nomadland, and is that all of them? Yeah, Promising Young Woman. That one's up. And The Sound of Metal. The story of a drummer who loses his hearing, the trial of the Chicago Seven, the infamous trial of young people who were protesting the war and treatment back in the 60s. So, man, just a really diverse set of movies. I think you've got a diverse cast in these movies, diverse stories for the first time, really. You haven't seen a lot of these stories before. So in this pandemic year, I think this year is some of the best pictures for this category in a long time. Yeah. So what do you guys think? David, what do you think? What's your hot take?
Well, I think I think these films do kind of speak to the sense of challenges that we've had. The seriousness, the issues. Not that that the Oscar Best Pictures are full of guys and doll musical kind of deals, but there is something about the experiences. I think it somewhat resonates with Me Too, with Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of the stories, and you see where some of these struggles have been going on a long time. I think they're really wonderful films. I really enjoyed each of these flicks. I do think Nomadland, I think that will probably win. Promising Young Woman, because of the Me Too movement and kind of like the backlash on Weinstein, I could see it as like as a chance. Man, Judas and the Black Messiah and Chicago 7. I like all of these films. I thought those were really amazing stories. I do think, of all of those, my favorite of these this week, yesterday, it could have been something else, Chicago 7, because it was a courtroom drama. And I always, my interests, I do go to those. I like the fact that, and I think I said this last week, the corruption that you saw from the bench, from the judge, it's in the transcript. You see it. And so while we can talk about this is kind of like what has happened, or we know these are bad experiences with Promising Young Woman, or we know that Fred Hampton was murdered, but some of the other pieces, it's, how much of this is a fictional and what pieces in there that got us to that point. We've got a transcript here. We can read and see the atrocities and the corruption that took place in that courtroom. And it is a true mirror to ourselves and what was going on in this country. So that's my favorite. I think Nomadland is going to win.
Pat, what do you think?
Well, I would, you were talking about how this has been kind of a weird year with movies because of the pandemic. And, there's a glaring absence of any big budget spectaculars and these things, which is great. It gives you a chance to have these intimate conversation movies. You have something, something a little more toned down. Doesn't require explosions and boat jumping and all kinds of silliness that can make a great movie. But you don't get that this year. This year we have people talking to each other. We have people speaking to a crowd, or what. I liked Nomadland. But I love Judas and the Black Messiah. I got to tell you, for a movie to grab me and held me and made me watch more than Nomadland. Nomadland was, to a certain extent, so slow. Minari was another slow movie. I mean, a lot of these movies were so slow. It was
MANK.
MANK. They were by design to be slow. They're supposed to be taking a lot of time to show the development and stuff. But maybe I'm just too ADD or something to deal with a really 2 hour long drawn out thing, but you got to have a little bit of motion, with not necessarily, you don't need a boat jump, but you might need something to keep it going a little bit more to really keep your attention, keep you focused, and you learn something accidentally, even if you're not trying, but you're entertained while you're learning something, and hopefully you walk out of that movie theater a little bit better person with a different viewpoint. That's what the best movies do. They give you another viewpoint that you will never get. And Judas and the Black Messiah was spectacular. My second one up was the one that you mentioned, the Trial of Chicago 7, which was a great movie too. Which I'd heard the name, but I didn't know what it was, so I learned something. It was entertaining. It kept me going. But Judas and the Black Messiah was just the performances were in that were so powerful, and the way they did everything, they put that together. That's the one I would love to see win. Everybody's saying Nomadland will probably win, and there's probably a good chance of that just because people like Familiar, and Frances McDormand's Familiar. These are people that you might know, you might see. Whereas I'm never going to meet a Black Panther, probably. I don't know. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I'm not going to meet a 1970s Black Panther. I know that. So there you go. I was still in grade school. I didn't know this shit was going on. Pardon my French. So I'm just saying it was a great movie. I loved that movie out of the bunch so far. The one that really grabbed me and held me was that one.
Yeah. And I think that's what the best movies do. Just movies in general, they capture you and they hold you and you remember them and you think about them afterwards and you feel something while you're there. And that's why we go to the movies. And so, and because in another year, Tenet would have done much better than what it did. Some of these other ones out there that were, really expected to, be big movies, but with the pandemic, you didn't get to release, and they're still on the shelf waiting to get, completed. So I think that finally, we're getting some really high quality movies that make you think. It's not the traditional like Green Book or some of these other kind of movies that are out there. But
it almost feels like a Sundance panel. It really does.
Yeah, that's right. I like that.
It really does feel like something you'd see at Sundance because they're willing to take chances.
Yeah,
not
like the Independent Spirit Awards. You know, they a lot of the movies I'm sure were in the Independent Spirit Awards this year.
People when they made Clerks out, $3,000 and 2 cameras, and it was a great movie and it started a guy's career and everything, but it was just something that nobody thought to do because it's not safe. And that's why I like to see a lot of the movies this year. They were not safe movies.
Yeah, and that and so my picks. So I don't know. It's a toss up this year. It's really going to be hard to predict. I think it might be Nomadland. That might speak especially to the age of the average Academy voter. It might speak to the situation that none of them will find themselves in, but their generation. But Judas and the Black Messiah was so powerful and a story that needed to be told so people understand what people were talking about, and why there's such fear around policing. And so it's it's such a diverse set of movies. It's really maybe one that I'm like, if that one wins, man, whatever with this, but usually there's like 2 or 3 or 4 of them. I'm like, why is this even nominated? But this year it's like, I'd be okay if, the majority of them won. I'd be like super happy and surprised. Now, some of the other categories, who I thought was robbed for the first time. I mean, he shouldn't have got it for Birdland. But Michael Keaton in the Trial of the Chicago 7, I thought his role, while small, was super fantastic and really turned the movie on its head. And so I was really hoping that he got nominated and he didn't. So I was like, And I really thought another miss was having Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield nominated both as Best Supporting Actor. It didn't make sense for both of them to be nominated. I get they were trying the best, but I think it robbed one of them of a chance of maybe getting it. So I think that Daniel Kaluuya, I hope he gets it. I thought he did a really wonderful job, and just a really powerful performance. And so I'm really rooting for him. I'm rooting for Viola Davis or Andra Day, either one of them. I'm really hoping for the grandmother in Minari to get Best Supporting Actress. I just thought she just was amazing. And I think Glenn Close with Hillbilly Elegy, I don't think she's gonna get it again. I think she's gonna get robbed again. So she's run with a bunch of nominations and she might not get it. Her best role to me was Dangerous Liaisons. So if she didn't get it for that, I was like, she got robbed then. Some of these other ones, the wife was really good. Yeah. So
somebody we don't remember.
Yeah. I just think this year, I think you should watch it because I don't know how they're going to do it this year. So that's what's going to be interesting. I think they're going to, I guess, have it in the LA Union Station, and only 170 people, I think, can be in there at any time. So it's going to be very small for the Oscars. So we'll see tomorrow at 8:00 So if you a lover like me who's watched it all the blankety blank years of my life, I haven't ever missed a show. This one ought to be the most unique, at least in my lifetime. I mean, we had to put up with what's his name, James Franco, and
Rogan.
And Rob Lowe that year. There've been some real stinkers, but this year ought to be unique. So, tune in and really take a look, stay up and watch it. I think it ought to be fun. So we're going to wrap it up. I know it's a supersized episode of the show, but we have a lot to talk about. And let me tell you about what's coming up next week. Since we won't be watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we're going to watch May 1st. And we want you to join us. We're going to watch Mortal Kombat. That's on HBO Max. And Invincible on Amazon Prime. May 8th, we're going to watch Thunder Force on Netflix. And May 8th begins The Bad Batch, which is another story in the Star Wars universe. And that's going to start May 4th, and we're going to talk about them on the show. So each week after that, we'll talk about The Bad Batch. The 15th, we're going to watch Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix with The Bad Batch. The 22nd, there's an interesting new movie coming out for Angelina Jolie, Those Who Wish Us Dead on HBO Max. And then on the 29th, we're going to watch Shadow and Bone on Netflix and The Bad Batch. So that takes us through May. So it's a really good batch of movies that we want you to join us and discuss. And fellas, why don't you give us some final words and we'll let the people go.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for sticking with us. Let's see what your Oscar bets are and see if you take a win, place, or show. I want to urge everybody to get vaccinated, mask up, and this weekend especially, wear your seatbelts and wear your seatbelts properly. Don't drive too fast, no matter how young you are. Tell your young ones that. Lost somebody back home with that. So just in your hearts, be smart. Bless you all. Be safe.
Yep. Pat, say goodnight.
I'll say goodnight. I'll tell everybody as we're coming into the Bad Batch, it's not a bad idea to go back and rewatch Clone Wars because it's still as good as it ever has been. Go do it again. It's worth it.
Yeah, I'm doing that today. I was watching the Clone Wars to catch up. So that is great. And everybody, take care. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Social distance. Wash your hands. Get vaccinated. And Black Lives Still Matter. So take care. See you next week. Bye. Take care.